Okay, so there's this viral monologue making a pretty big prediction for Australia's future. Let's dive in.
Right at the start, he drops what he calls a chilling prediction from an Islamic scholar.
And this quote right here, it's pretty much the foundation for his entire argument. He claims Australia is being Islamized fast, and that this future is basically inevitable.
So, to back this up, he looks at what's happened in other countries.
His first example is Lebanon, which he holds up as a kind of cautionary tale. And according to him, this is exactly why so many Lebanese Christians came to Australia.
All right, next up, he turns his attention to the UK, pointing to some alleged changes. He uses these points to argue that these kinds of shifts are already happening in the West.
And all this leads to his main idea, which he calls the cultural software of belief.
So he paints a really sharp contrast here between what he calls Western and Islamic mindsets.
He argues that this kind of dogmatic belief can actually manifest delusions into reality. To make his point, he even brings up an old story about Alexander the Great.
He then points to a poll of British Muslims to make a point about allegiance.
And in his view, this data suggests a kind of divided loyalty.
Okay, so what does all of this mean for Australia specifically? Let's get into it.
He says Australia's huge landmass and small population make it vulnerable, even more so than America.
And he gets really specific, listing parts of the Aussie lifestyle he thinks are at risk.
This all builds to a pretty sharp critique of current leaders and a final call to action. He calls the Prime Minister's acceptance of these changes a fool's errand that'll lose the country.
It all comes back to his software argument, that it's the culture, not people, that matters.
So for him, the only solution is a return to patriotism and tighter immigration rules.
So after all that, what's the one big takeaway he wants you to think about?
He ends by leaving his audience with a really provocative question about their country's future.